Hello. I hope you guys are having an amazing day. I just got off of a podcast interview with a fellow free mama. So while I am all fired up and already chit-chatting, I wanted to pop in here and have a quick conversation with you about what is really required, like really required, to be a successful freelancer. Because I have worked with over 8,000 women personally. I have met probably hundreds more freelancers. I have hired dozens of freelancers, and there is definitely something that stands out from those who go from kind of just hoping and wanting and like wishing they had a way to make money from home, wishing they could work from home, and those who actually do it. But before I get into that, I have been seeing Reese Witherspoon pop up on my Instagram a lot lately. I don't know if you guys like Reese. I don't know if you follow Reese. I don't know anybody who doesn't like Reese Witherspoon because she's just darling. But one of her most iconic roles was as Elle Woods. So if you are an elder millennial like myself, you have probably seen Legally Blonde. Maybe you've even seen the musical. Maybe you also follow Reese and you have seen that they are actually making a TV show. I think it's called Elle, but if you know, tell me in the comments. I think it's called Elle, but I saw like the unveiling when Reese and the casting crew, like when they picked the girl and they told her, and it was so cute. And so I've seen all this stuff lately about Elle Woods. And if you've seen Legally Blonde, maybe you remember the scene where there are a bunch of very stiff old white men sitting in a Harvard boardroom, very clearly going over applications to this very prestigious law school. And they're all sitting there and they click on their big old giant TV video application. And there is this blonde, enthusiastic, very perky, very cheery, hot pink sequins. I think she's in a swimsuit for most, if not all, of the interview or video that she submits for her application. And she's introducing herself, right? This is Elle Woods, and she is so authentically Elle. She is just totally being herself. And then it ends her video and it goes around to all these like old white men in the boardroom, and they're like, shook because there's this like perky young blonde girl in a bathing suit, which I'm sure was very startling and overwhelming for them. But then you start hearing what they're saying, and one of them is like, "Well, she did this for her sorority, whatever, and she invented like faux fur panties or something." And they're like, "Ah, like entrepreneurial and philanthropist," and they're like. I wouldn't say grasping at straws because again, who doesn't love Elle? But they're taking all of these things that didn't maybe fit the typical mold of what they thought a successful Harvard Law School candidate would look like, but they are realizing that she did really, really good on her LSATs. They say what her score was or whatever. She had like straight A's, and I think it was like fashion merchandising or something was her undergraduate degree. But then one of them was like, we want diversity. We want diversification of our students and what they studied and their interests and all these things. And so anyway, the scene ends with the like presumably head guy in charge saying something like, Elle, welcome to Harvard. It's like she gets in, right? And so what does this have to do with you? What does this have to do with freelancing? The quote unquote secret sauce, all internet people want to talk about secrets because everybody wants to make you feel like there's something you don't know, but I'm going to tell you what it is. The thing that I see making people successful as freelancers is not trying to be someone else. It is having a little bit of that Elle Woods energy. And I don't mean the perky blonde pink sequins thing, unless that's your thing, in which that's really cool. I also don't recommend getting online in a bikini unless you want a bunch of really creepy people making comments. But again, you do you be yourself. And that is the key. When Elle applies to Harvard, she is being herself. Yes, that stands out. Yes, all of those things. She is being herself. And if you've seen the whole movie, you know that at one part, she tries to conform. She dims her light. She stops being herself. She tries to fit the mold. She tries to be like the people she's following. She tries to be like everybody else. And it doesn't work. It does not work for her. We know that at the end of the movie, she saves the day and as her like law school, whatever thing. I just always remember the endorphins speech that she gives, and then when she gets into Harvard, what, like, it's hard. Like, when she is most herself, she is most succeeding. She gets into a prestigious law school. She meets the guy that's really the guy, not the jerky college boyfriend that was going to leave her and all that stuff. Like, she meets the guy. She is successful in her career because she's doing it as herself. Now, with that being said, Elle is still playing by the rules. She studied really, really hard and missed out on some stuff to be able to take the LSATs. She worked her tush off in school to be able to get the grades and understand. So she's studying, she's following the path, but she's doing it as herself. Now, as I was thinking about this, I was trying to think of another movie character that I think represents how some of us maybe feel when we first find out about freelancing. We first think about working from home, and maybe kind of how we feel in our lives, because we've kind of been conditioned to feel this way. I feel like we get a lot of messages that maybe something's wrong with us, or like we're not good enough. And the one that I came up with, and tell me if you've seen this movie, I think most of us have seen Legally Blonde, but have you guys seen Bridget Jones' Diary? Again, I think I'm just aging myself. None of these are new movies. But Bridget Jones can be a bit of a downer because she's a bit down on herself. Like, she's kind of frumpy. She's not really being herself. She wants to change herself. She starts a whole diary about how to change herself. And there's just this energetic difference when, and as we go through the movie, she goes through all her love stories and all these different things. But I think there's this, like, she feels like something's wrong with her. She feels like she has to become someone different, someone worthy. And I think if we were all left alone in a room with Elle Woods and Bridget Jones, that most of us would be more inspired by and therefore attracted to someone like Elle Woods than someone who is maybe not putting off a very confident energy because they're not really being true to themselves. Maybe they don't even know who they are yet, right? And that's kind of the journey of the movie. So it's not to knock Bridget or put Elle on a pedestal. They both have their own heroine path that they go through in their films. But what I want to encourage you with today is that I think there's a lot of things out there that are very unique, that you have to really be a certain kind of person to do the certain kind of thing. But I have been freelancing now for over a decade, and I have been working with thousands of people. I've been teaching my freedom framework for the last 8 years. And I really believe that anybody who can find the desire and the drive from within to want to become self-employed can be a freelancer. Anybody who wants to be self-employed can freelance, because there's so many different niches. There's so many different services that you can provide. There's so many opportunities for you to work with different kinds of industries and different kinds of people. But the one through line for all of that is that you are yourself. When I see people show up and try to be like other people, it doesn't work. When I see people show up and they're like, oh, that person is doing social media management and therefore they are making a lot of money, so I should go do social media management. Even if you hate social media, it's not going to work. So we have to channel our inner Elle Woods. We have to figure out, like, who am I? What do I like? How do I show up? What am I interested in? What am I good at? The fact that she did her fashion merchandising and her faux fur panties that made her a philanthropist and an entrepreneur, those are the things that helped set her apart so that she got into Harvard. And I think it's important that you figure out what those things are for yourself. Maybe it's not pink and sparkles and a little chihuahua that you carry around in a purse, but there are things that make you uniquely you. And there are things that will make you stand out when you lean into what those interests are and what those personality traits are. So good morning. Hey, Joanne. So I think it's really important that we channel our inner Elle Woods when we are thinking about pursuing things in our freelancing business. And I think it's also important that we acknowledge that Elle followed the path. And, she didn't just become a lawyer. She didn't, there was, she went and she got that strong foundation. She went and she learned how to go through the courtroom. That's part of their whole training. And so if the idea of working from home sounds really appealing to you and you feel like it's accessible, but you've been trying to piecemeal it together, you've been trying to figure it out by yourself, you've probably been making it harder for yourself. And that is exactly what I do. That's how I come in. That's where I help people, is I help you follow that framework, and all you have to add is yourself. You bring yourself to it, your interests, and then there's that foundation there, that freedom framework. And I know I've been sharing for a couple of weeks now, but next week is when we are finally sharing that freedom framework with you guys, with those of you who are interested in following a path to success. You will not walk away with a Harvard degree like Elle Woods did, but you can walk away with a successful career where you get to be authentically yourself. You don't have to pretend to be anybody else. You don't have to go down a path of trying to, morph into something else to make it successful. You can be successful. You already have what you need to be successful within you. I'm just going to show you that path, just like Elle followed when she went to Harvard Law, to get the outcome that you want faster and easier. So I'm going to put a link in the chat and the comments. You can sign up for the wait list. Otherwise, we will shoot an email to you next week when we have that workshop available for you. But let me know in the comments. I know some of you guys just jumped on, but let me know, do you feel more like an Elle? Do you feel more like a Bridget? Why do you think that is? And what part of this feels tricky for you still? I would love to know. I want to make sure that when I show up, I'm answering the questions that you have. I am giving you the resources that you need to be able to take that next step. So I hope you guys have a beautiful rest of your day, and I hope to see you at that training next week. See ya.